Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the channel, the Shotgun Shogun, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be an opinion video on my opinion on the current landscape of bruisers and why I think Charles is a very overrated character when it comes to RTA and even PvP to some extents, right? I do think that Charles excels in guild wars. He's very good if he has a highly defensive sustained comp in arena, but I think when it comes to RTA, Charles is actually not really as good as a lot of people want to credit him for. Now, first off, let's take a look at Charles and what he does, and I'll explain to you why I think that Charles is a little on the overrated side. So first off, Charles is a tank. As you can see, I really don't have any gear on him right now. I have him at plus 11, but I don't typically use him. Now, the big reason is because of the way that Charles is typically built, right? Most of the time, it's a counter attack Elbrus Ritual Sword Charles, rocking the extra 10% chance to proc his S2 when he procs his, or when he hits with his S1. Now, this can be good still in certain comps in RTA. However, at the top tiers of RTA, which I'm top 50, I don't really see Charles used too often. And when he is, he's not really that game changing. He's a big threat, but I usually take him out first. The reason being is because if he's built for damage, he's usually a little soft. If he's built for heft, he doesn't do nearly as much damage. Now, you can use him as utility, but first off, he's got his S1 here, which does decrease attack, and this is actually really, really big if you do get this to land on somebody, and you have a 35% chance to activate his S2, which is smashed, which is doubled when the enemy is buffed. And let's be real, in RTA, if you're not buffed, you're probably doing it wrong. So it almost guarantees an S1 into an S2. Now, I will talk about a team comp that I see ran with him that actually really does help him excel, which is pretty nutty and something I'd like to do in the future. Now, his S2 obviously attacks the enemy repeatedly with a giant sword with a 100% chance to dispel all buffs. When it's maxed out, damage dealt increases proportional to the number of buffs granted to the caster. Now, if Charles is all buffed up, he's going to be doing a lot of damage with his S2, which he should be buffed up because you're probably going to do S3, which will give him attack up and defense, and that is the next one. This is going to give him increased attack and defense. So if he does land an S1 or just a straight up S2 on the second turn, he's going to be doing a fair to moderate amount of damage. Now, this does benefit him by getting into crit damage because of the smash modifier working more with crit damage. Not only that, he does have a little bit on the low side of base damage or base attack overall compared to, you know, other high damage dealer units. Now, the thing is he is a knight, which limits a little bit of his artifact choice. However, Elbrus Ritual Sword is most likely going to be the one that you are going to go with, and that's the very typical build. You can run him with an Arius for sneaky Arius Charles, or a Hillag Lance, or a Steadfast Gatekeeper if you want him to get more turns. Now, I do think that Elbrus is probably going to be your best bet because you want to get off those S1, S2s. Now, the real reason for the video, and I know somebody's going to be like, well, why don't you just gear out your Charles? Why you're talking about Charles and you don't even have him geared? Right. That's because I don't ever use him. And the reason being is Charles is so reliant on RNG to work that I don't think that he is the best option when you can take RNG out of the equation. And the big thing is when you get into higher and higher tiers of RTA, higher and higher tiers of PvP, RNG becomes a huge detriment because if a game can be won and lost on RNG, then it's always 100% of the time going to screw you over. If you don't have a 100% chance to crit, you might as well have a 0% chance to crit. 20% chance to counterattack and 20% chance to proc Elbrus Ritual Sword might as well be 0 for you. Oh, you have a double percent chance, or double the chance to proc S2 off of an S1 on a buffed target. Yeah, that might as well be 0 as well. Now, don't get me wrong. When Charles pops off and RNG is in your favor, Charles is absolutely devastating. However, that's something that you want to take out of the equation. As a higher tier player, I try to limit the amount of RNG that I am relying on as much as humanly possible. Unless that RNG is like something that's just very secondary for the unit to work. Like MRSA, actually. So, I mean, you get her evasion up to like 80-90%, and you build her with enough heft that if she does get hit, you're fine, but RNG is going to typically go in your favor. If not, well, you just chalk it up to a Ravi never misses a crit on a MRSA. That's just pretty much how that goes. But the other thing I want to talk about too with Charles is the fact that he is not very group friendly. He doesn't bring much to the party other than the attack buff, which you can get from Maid Chloe, which you can get from DN, which you can get from quite a few other units, Rose, just about any of those other people. Now, if you are using him just to give attack buff, you can run him with like an Arius to make him more tanky, make the team more tanky. A lot of people are just going to expect a very glass cannon Charles, because a lot of people build glass cannon Charles, and they're going to expect that, and they're not going to expect him to be hefty and just there for buff strip, attack buff, defense, or attack down, things like that. So you can try to bring that, but I do feel in that situation there are other units that you can bring that bring more to the team, right? So take Alencia, for example. Not only does she AoE buff strip, but she has a double attack on Mind's Eye proc. She has defense break. She has defense up, and like I said, the team-wide strip for the enemy. This is very, very big. Not only that, but you build Alencia super tanky because she scales off of the amount of HP that she has. Charles only has the S2, which scales off of, which relies on the enemy being buffed. Obviously, you know, it really needs, everybody's gonna have buffs, right, at some point or another. Now, the third one, this does increase damage as you get less and less enemies, but yeah, you're really using this for the attack up and the defense up on Charles. Now, the problem that comes with Charles is when you're trying to think about team comps, right? You don't want to overlap too many buffs. Now, bringing Charles does allow you to forgo an attack buffer, right? So you could bring maybe somebody that increases speed or team-wide defense, because even though he brings team-wide defense to himself, he doesn't bring team-wide defense. So running Charles with like maybe an Adventurer Ross is really good. I tend to run Adventurer Ross when I'm not running Alencia, because I don't want to double up on the defense buffs, because then you just have either you're rotating the defense buffs or you just have literally a wasted defense buff. But you are typically going to want to rotate those if you bring double, but a lot of times you do want to bring as many different debuffs and buffs as humanly possible. That way you have more options and more buffs and more debuffs, obviously. But I do think that you know, when it comes to high level RTA, you don't really see Charles too much. You see a lot of Alencia, Ravi, Little Queen Charlotte. Those are going to be your big bruisers. And I'm going to do another video just breaking down each one of those and why I think that each one of those is a superior bruiser to Charles. I also want to do a video on the hidden sleepers of high RTA. Because I've been doing a ton of RTA lately. Actually, how many fights do I have in now? And I'll put this on here too for clout, so just in case nobody thinks that I'm where I'm at. Yeah, I'm 34. I've done, what is this, 526 RTA matches. I've been in Legends since, you know, for a while, a bit now. I've done a lot of Legend tier matches. And I think that, you know, I've beat Code. I've beat, I think I beat Suck at one point. I've beaten Hoseth. I have beaten, I'm pretty sure I've beaten Tenbird, Abdar I've taken. I beat Wi-Fi a lot. Potato Balls, we go back and forth. Solara is absolutely disgusting. One of the best teams I've ever fought and got completely destroyed by. Some of the foreign characters I recognize. Hans is up in the top 30. Nice. Jinx is probably one of my favorite fights as well. But the thing is, so I've beaten a lot of these people, and I've done a lot of high champ, high legend play, and I just don't see Charles that much. So investing in Charles for low mid-tier PvP is a very, very good option. I'm not going to say that he's not an absolute powerhouse when all of the RNG comes into your favor, but honestly, I think that building Charles more on the tanky side with the RNG strip being an extra benefit, it might not be bad. I actually might try that. We'll see how that goes. I might give that a shot. Just do like a very normal Charles, maybe just make him an actual tank with like decent damage, and then not worry about the Elbrus counterattack set, because I think that would actually bamboozle some people. So we might see how that goes. But I do think that overall, I see a lot of people that are super, super afraid of Charles. Now, the one thing, I'll put this back to this. I had that on the self-imprint for Banshee. He does bring critical hit chance if you have him imprinted to the entire team, which is pretty big. I definitely think that is a good aspect of Charles, but we'll see. Personally, I just wanted to talk about that because I've been talking to a couple people over the last couple of days, and everybody just fears Charles. One of the easiest ways to deal with Charles is this unit right here. Just Falconeer Quarry, defense break him, and then one-shot him with your bruiser. Actually, that's pretty much the answer to the vast majority of problems in life, is just Falconeer Quarry break them, and then one-shot them with an A-Ravi Little Queen, something along those lines. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. How much do you fear Charles in RTA, Guild Wars, Arena, and, you know, where do you typically use him? If you aren't using him anymore, why did you shelve him? Is it because of the RNG? Because like I said, I'm trying to take as much of that out of the equation as humanly possible. That's why when you build ML Ken, it's good to build Ken with a bit of crit chance so that he's a threat and you're not relying on them critting Ken to get his real damage out there. Now, if you're going up against Cleave team slotting in a high damage, low crit chance, ML Ken is basically a guaranteed counterattack, but that's a completely different topic for a different story. Also, if you like these videos where it's just my thoughts, like my brief thoughts on a character and why I see them or why I don't see them very often, let me know down below. I can do these. These are just things that usually I'll be talking to somebody in Discord and I'm like, you know what, I want to do a video on this because I like this topic. So that's that. I can just do these quick ones every so often. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. I will talk to you guys on the next video. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, smash the bell notification, drop me a like and a comment. But I am not your real dad at the moment, so you don't have to if you don't want to. I'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy, homies. Peace.
Crack it.